I know. It's scary at first. It is. I gotta be honest with you. The first time we went sex toy shopping, I was like, I don't know if I love this. Right? I don't know. I've seen this movie. I know how dudes get replaced. Right? I know how this works. But in reality, we were just trying to find our way to happiness. So you are going to feel self-conscious about that. I get it. A lot of dudes will. We want to believe we're the most, qualified lover or the best that she's ever had. You're probably not, bro. Like, I hate to break it to you. You're probably not. I said this 20 years ago, and I'm kind of right. You don't normally marry the person you have the wildest sex with. I used to have this joke that, and it literally was a joke, but I said there's nothing worse than having sex with somebody you love. And of course, I was younger, and I was drug addicted, and I was drunk, and I was in the bars all night, and I was looking to have, sex with people like that. And so, yes,
The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Give me an hour, and I'll get you into incarceration. We left off talking about sex toys as 60% of women, about 59%, sorry. I said, yeah, absolutely. We're interested in using those more in the bedroom, and about 41% of men. Welcome to the ego of men. Oh, give her that little ego there. Oh no, we're gonna threaten my big toughness. And so they get a little on edge about that. They don't love it there. And we also have now sex position, percentage of preference here. So 69. Apparently men like that way more than women. About 69% of men, about 32% of women. I was surprised that was as lopsided as it was. Now it doesn't break it down. If you're going to do the laying down, and we'll get to standing in a moment, but if you're going to do it laying down, there's two versions of it, right? You can flip the coin, if you will, there. And I'm surprised it wasn't broken down like that. I am shocked that many more men like that than women. Anal was kind of the same thing. Shocked by this. I'm not surprised more men are into it than women. 88% of men, about 12% of women. I'm not shocked by men being infatuated with it. I'm surprised more. It's more like, all right, for you, okay, fair enough. It's not, I don't understand it. Again, my line for 25 years has been, I was given two great, fantastic places to insert myself into a woman. Asking for a third just kind of felt like a little greedy. Not enough, God, give me another. Right? I don't know about that one, buddy. The first two, it's dude, Candyland, Disneyland in the same place? I like it, right? I wasn't necessarily looking around, for the third amusement park. I'm good. I feel like I got enough toys in here. I'm fine. Now, Cowgirl, this is women on top there. 38% of men, 62% of women. Now, I gotta be honest with you, there are gonna be a lot of guys who are like, I can't have, like a lot of people. And if you're really, really pretty and look great without your clothes on, I get a really good view of you, right? And I'm into that. I want to look at what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is you, right? I'm into that. I get off on the fact that, dude, she's hot. And, look at this. I am sorry. There's the ego in people. And that's where some of mine comes out, for sure. Absolutely. And so I like only for you and not for her at all. It's almost like that's why she's sleeping with your best friend behind your back, but whatever. Doggy style, about 62%. Until I'm in a relationship with you, I'm not letting a guy do that. That it's a little... I don't know, there's, I guess, part of the toxic masculinity thing in men, and she felt objectified. And I don't think it's the bulk of us, but okay. I guess I was just wrong about that. Now, missionary is completely different. 67% of women say, yeah, that's my comfort level, absolutely. It's kind of what I want. And 33.3% of men said that. Standards are standards for a reason. Because they work, and that's why they became a standard. You shook me all night long, works no matter what day of the week it is. Get AC/DC on the goddamn radio. It works. Right? So play You Shook Me All Night Long. It works. Their standards are a standard for a reason. I'm surprised that many men are bummed out about that. My guess is, if you'll allow some speculation, that the more pornography you're watching, the less likely you are to see that position. And so since so many men are having all of their sex on their phone versus in real life, I think you're starting to become more infatuated with some positions you maybe see in those videos. Not necessarily terrible, not terrible at all if you find the right person and you can use those positions and all of that, but I wouldn't stick my nose up at the one that women seem to prefer overwhelmingly. Like, I'm not sure I would do that. Now, having sex on a tabletop, that was a little bit more even, 53 to 47. Again, men still leading the pack there, but again, much closer. Legs up, a very similar thing. Now, that's missionary, kind of have the legs like over the shoulders thing. That's a great way to have missionary sex. There's no denying that. The ankle, one ankle on each hand, that does. It feels like you're conquering something, right? It's like, dude, if sex was Risk, I just won, right? Like, the opponent just flipped the board over. There's pieces flying everywhere. I have exerted my dominance. I'm winning, right? Like, that absolutely feels that way. For sure it does. Absolutely. The one that I found interesting was a standing 69. About 74% of men said, oh yeah, give me the standing 69. And only about 26% of women were into that idea. Now, I love Jennifer more than anything in the whole wide world. I love that woman through and through. I love her body. I like the way she looks in clothes. I like the way she looks naked. I love everything about that woman. But I have zero chance to hold her upside down for that long.
He's a man of many talents, but
by the end of the hour, you're winning your way into incarceration. July on that one. Ohio State Reformatory, Breaking Benjamin, Godsmack. Shinedown part of that too. And about 10,000 other bands. So we'll make sure you can go. We had been talking about sexual anxiety. There's a lot of situations, positions, and a lot of things that people were anxious about. And we were kind of running through that list a little bit. They polled Europeans and Americans. This was a small study. And anytime self-reporting is part of something, you can expect the numbers to be a little interesting, just because I think people sometimes want to give the person asking the questions the answers that they're looking for sometimes, right? But there was a pretty big separation between men and women being anxious about anal. It seems like men kind of love it, women not so much. And I was kind of surprised by that. Now, maybe that's about the women I have dated throughout my life. And maybe not, but like it was like 70% of men, and I think it was like under 30% of women. Yeah, I have it right here. It's 88% of men actually, and about 12.1% of women. So yeah, much lower than I thought. Thank God for multiple tabs open, so I could pull back that information for you. Now, I brought it back up again because Carrie had been listening, and she says, "Hey, Salisbury, I was listening to this. I thought I would give you, the input of a woman here." Goes, my thoughts on the 69 position. My point of view, woman. I'm not a huge fan, as I can't seem to accurately focus on either at the same time. She gives me a couple emojis there, and her point continues here in a second. We'll get to the rest of it. Yeah, I mean, I've obviously have both heard that from other people, and I have been in the middle of that act and thought to myself, her concentration level is not high enough for my end of this because of what I'm doing back here, right? Like, there is some of that. I will tell you that men, I shouldn't say men, a lot of men, hand raised, if you're able to hold your concentration during that, keep your end of the bargain, we like that a lot. And by we, I mean me, right? Like, I'm a fan of that. You are right. For an easily distracted society, that may not be the best way to go about that, Carrie. Now, she brought up anal in this. And again, 88%, 12% of the women there. And what she had said is, that percentage is a lot lower than I had anticipated, and that's what I thought too. But she says, I'm wondering how many women still are uncomfortable admitting that they like it. And I would imagine a lot, right? And she says, I'm a fan. The O is entirely different. And I would imagine so, as I can tell you from, right? I think it's what works for you and what works for your partner. Trying to universally apply these things to people may be a sticky wicket, just because I think there are a lot of different preferences that people have and what you consider. Again, they were asking people, how do you feel about rough sex? But they didn't tell me what was classified as rough. What I consider rough, you may not, and vice versa. So that guy always, that's always an interesting thing with those studies there. But I can't be shocked by that. A little earlier, we were talking about Shohei Ohtani, baseball player, and it's because he's pretty much the biggest thing in the sport over the last decade. They're actually playing right now, according to my sports app on my phone, and it may be a couple of minutes behind, but they're at the bottom of the fifth with the Padres winning 10-8 over the Dodgers. These games actually do count, and I thought it was kind of ridiculous. Like, you got the biggest star in your sport in over a decade. He's now with the Dodgers, one of your premier franchises, and the first time a game counts yesterday, you throw him out, and they're in Seoul, I believe is where it is. Now, Shohei Ohtani, an international player. Okay, fair. I get that. But we were talking about if this were LeBron and he switched teams, that game's not going to be on at 3 o'clock in the morning. Again, it was 6 o'clock in the morning here, but he plays for the Dodgers, where it would have been 3 a.m. Like, that's crazy to me. I didn't get it. Like, what the hell are we doing? And you're wondering, you're looking around the other leagues talking about how you can't get the attention you need. This is why you make boneheaded decisions like this. Yes, the NFL is playing games in some other regions too. You know what the difference there is? Sunday morning football at 9 a.m. is kind of awesome, right? You wake up and you're like, oh my God, dude, it's 9 o'clock. There's games on right now. This is kind of great, right? That's the difference. Putting him on in the middle of the morning in a game that matters, I think it's problematic. Now, this point got brought up to me, and it's not necessarily crazy, and I'm sure a lot of you were thinking it, so let's address it. Somebody said to me, you know, how many people do you think are watching in other countries, like Korea, China, Japan, all that compared to the U.S. audience? I said, well, in my view, that does not matter. Baseball's been complaining for a while about the suffering of television rating and interest, even though it makes, baseball does, a ton of money. Baseball makes a ton of money. This, you know what, baseball and radio are very much similar here. A lot of people tell you, oh, radio, it's over. And yet it's making a ton of money currently. This industry's making so much. I mean, dude, seriously, there's still plenty of money to be made in the radio business. People tell you it's over, but it ain't. And that's kind of true with baseball too. It's not really over. They're generating a ton of money. They don't necessarily have your or I's interest all week, every night, the way, you know, other sports do. I think the NFL gets a little lucky here that there's more scarcity of the games. It's rare. Also, the NFL owns the day of the week. They own Sunday. They're on other nights of the week. They own this. NBA, you can kind of come to a game every night of the week. MLB, kind of the same thing, but you don't link Monday night to baseball, Thursday night to the NBA. You don't really link it that way. And they should maybe try to work on that a little bit. So I don't disagree that they're looking for eyeballs around the world. And I think what's going to happen to most U.S. sports is that they will expand and become international sports before long. Get ready to hear more about how you're not world champs, you're U.S. champs. You didn't play anybody over here. Quit calling yourself world champs. Get ready to hear more about that over the next handful of years. Get ready to hear more other countries telling you, why are we exporting our best talent to you? Just play games over here. Do that with us. We're not sending you our players anymore. Just give us teams over here. Get ready for that. I think it's probably coming. So I think you're probably right that they're looking for those eyeballs too, and they'll take them or whatever. What I would push back on and say is you got to get the U.S. market right as well. Because if you go and try to seduce all of them at the sake of your U.S. audience, then you're just making a sport for international audiences and not the U.S. audience. Like, I think it's a little bit of a mistake. I don't think you're wrong about what they were thinking about it. I just think if I was going to run it, that's not, put him there the third week of the season, something. You want to do an exhibition? Something. Fine. Great. Do that. It's the first time he's in a Dodgers uniform where it matters. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning for Los Angeles residents. I think that's crazy. I'm sorry, I just think that's nuts. For a sport that's been telling me how they can't get anybody to pay attention to it, this is part of the reason why. This is part of the reason why. The NFL is like, come one, come all. These are where the games are. These are where our stars are. Come get your stars. Even the NBA does a better job about their stars. It's just, I felt like a calculation mistake. Again, people have been asking me about Shohei Ohtani. He had a interpreter. There's a language barrier between he and the team and some fans and the media and the like. So, you know, teams will hire interpreters or the player himself will. And sure enough, it had been found out that his interpreter had been stealing money from him already, and it was over gambling issues. So there's not a whole lot of info other than like the team kind of said, yep, we kind of found out what's happening here. We're moving on, no longer with the team. And everybody after that's pretty much going to be hush-hush about it until something like leaks. But yes, Shohei Ohtani did have an interpreter. That interpreter, according to the record, was stealing money from Shohei and using it for gambling issues. And so therefore they found that out. They have moved off that person. Look for Shohei Ohtani to have a new interpreter, my guess is, by the end of this game. I would guess. And again, like I said, apparently 10-8 right now. Padres over Dodgers as that game is being played at 8:50 in the morning on the East Coast. You gotta love Major League Baseball.
The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
9 a.m. this morning. My one man is regretting having sex with as many women as he did. He claims he had sex with as many as 9 women in a day. Pretty interesting. Now, plenty of athletes and rock stars have said that as well, so not sure he's lying, but we'll get there on some audio on Dan Bilzerian. A lot of lost dudes out on the internet kind of found Dan a few years ago, and he became their patron saint because he was always on a boat with a bunch of hot models. I mean, it looked like he was just killing it, when in reality he was just shoving money in women's faces and making them do what he wanted. I mean, it's as simple as that, but okay. But we'll get to Dan and his audio. We'll do that coming up in a minute. What I have here now, though, is a dad and a doctor. And he has what he calls our rules for his kids and their screen time. He's being criticized because one of these rules he has is exercise-based. I'll tell you quickly before playing you some audio. This is his answer to, do I get to use my screen now? And the checklist goes as, clean your room. All clothes and drawers are hung up, no garbage. Your bed needs to be made and toys put away. Do your chores. Pick up the upstairs and downstairs. No garbage on the floor, toys and clothes all need to be put away. Is your homework done? Have you exercised? 1 mile on the treadmill, that can be walked or jogged or run, or 20 minutes in another exercise. Basketball, climbing, lifting weights, etc. Are you ready for the next day? Is your lunch made? Are your shoes, jacket, are they all located in a proper place for the next day? Are the toilets in the house flushed? That seems like a weird one to me, but I don't have kids living in my house. I'm sure that's probably like, dude, just flush it, right? Like, I'm sure that's one of those things and I just don't have to deal with it a lot. And laundry had been on the list as well. So, of course, now a bunch of people on the internet are after him because of the exercise angle of this. Here's his response to you.
Can I get on screens? And the answer is that did you? And there's a list of things that they need to do here. And right here is, did you exercise?
Oh my God, how terrible!
And my son's chosen to do his 20 minutes of lifting weights. I'm not forcing my son to exercise every day, but I am setting rules and boundaries around his screen time. He decided he wanted to have more time after school to play with his friend.
Which I would imagine comes at a premium for kids, right? I got to max out. I got to go back to school again tomorrow. I got to get some stuff done. My mom wants me at the dinner table. I want to hang out with my friends. I'm looking for as much time as possible to do that. Not shocked by that. I think
a little bit earlier and exercise in the morning.
Which is a great time to be doing that. Plenty of health experts have told you the earlier in the day you can do it, the better it is for you. Not to say that if you're doing it at 7 o'clock at night, you're not doing something positive for you, because obviously you are.
And also that he would need to keep his room clean. See, we have all of their screens locked away, and if they want access to any of them, they need to come ask us, and we'll go through the list together. And they're not getting their screens until the list is done.
You know why I think people are mad about this? Well, one, I bet they think he's lying. But let's say he's not. I think that's what makes people mad. Is he found a way to actually do this, and a lot of people don't want to because they would rather just give the kid the thing versus have to deal with the outburst because they don't have the thing. Now, don't snicker at me. Don't tell me how wrong I am. Because we always do this. Everybody in society will tell me there's bad parents everywhere. There must be, because look at all these bad kids. So one of you out there is a bad parent. I'm not saying I know who it is. I'm not saying that. But there's no way this group of people that's this big, and trust me, I've seen the data and how many people it is listening per minute, per day. I know how large this audience is. It's large. Very, large. So there's no way inside that group of people that some of you aren't horrific parents who have no idea on how to set boundaries. It's probably not the bulk of you, but it's one of you, at least. So I think a lot of people hear stuff from parents like this and they feel judged and they feel called out and they feel a little like, I don't know, yeah, judged and called out. That's all I need. I don't know why I need a third. And that's how they feel. And it kind of puts you in that defensive state of, he's a moron. When in reality, I think what we're doing there is judging our own behavior.
So my kids have their chores done, their rooms are clean, they've exercised, they've done their laundry. Screen use is associated with increases in depression and anxiety.
It is, absolutely. Most data run tells us that. By the way, the guy's a doctor. Trust the science, science denier. Trust the science, you science denier. Don't be one of those now.
Teens, we should not be giving our kids unlimited access to screens.
No, we used to judge moms back in the day for this too, for setting us in front of the television watching too much Scooby-Doo. They were right. We were watching too much television as children. I was, you probably were too.
Just regulate the amount of candy and sugar that they ate.
Well, is everybody doing that? I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people probably aren't doing as good of a job about that as they should be. Fair enough.
Hopefully, you should also be regulating the amount of screen time that they have. Just as you would hopefully have your kids eat dinner before they had their dessert,
I would think.
You should probably be having them do something positive, like get their homework done and get their chores done and do their laundry and
I would agree.
Spend some time exercising before they get on their screens. My son woke up early yesterday as well and exercised, and he said, I had so much energy at school. I felt so much better.
Yes, because that's what exercise does. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel positive. It gives you self-esteem. It gives you confidence. It reduces anxiety. It does all of those things. And the only thing standing in the way of all of that is you. And that's all he's trying to teach his kids here.
This morning, he had a big smile on his face.
Of course.
He felt better about himself.
Of course.
I had an opportunity to express how proud of him I was. Seems like we communicate a lot more things in text nowadays. I think it's the time we live in. Babies need parents, and teenagers need parents.
Maybe even more so.
They need rules and guidance and boundaries.
And I've always said, and I believe this is true, and I know you're not a parent, you don't even know. But I had parents, I was a kid, and I'm alive on a planet with your children. Boundaries are love. That's what boundaries are.
You're trying to help your children develop some good habits.
Yes.
If you don't do it, nobody else is.
Right. Monkey see, monkey do.
And children and teenagers lack the foresight, the experience, the knowledge to make all these good decisions for themselves.
Absolutely. I learned it by watching you, Dad. Could be applied to something positive as it is something negative. Good habits are like bad ones. The sooner you start them, the longer you have them.
Live from the Hall of Fame City, and just as bad as NFL officiating, the Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program. About to pass out these incarceration tickets. Breaking Benjamin, one of your headliners, felt like that was a good opportunity to pull some Breaking Ben out. I like that band a lot, man. All the way back to their first record. Saturate, I believe was the name of that record. Polyamorous was on that. Skin was on that. I remember we did $1.07. I was working at MMS then, and we did $1.07 show for them. Like the ticket price, $1.07, 107 there. And I got a chance to the Breaking Ben show. Odeon, I think that was. There might have been 30 people there. Like nobody knew who they were yet. They were great, man. I remember they were just next door at like B-Dubs eating when that was still open there. Like nobody, people were walking right by them. And I thought, I was like, man, this band's going to be something one day, right? People are not going to realize they were walking right past these guys as they're eating garlic parms. Just right there on the bank of the flats. They kind of did their thing there, Breaking Ben did. So we'll get you into that show here momentarily. Again, July 19th to the 21st at an Ohio State reformatory. And Godsmack Shinedown, some of your other headliners of that show. We had been talking about this doctor. He's got these rules for his kids for screen time. They say they keep their kids' screens locked up in the house somewhere. You got to go and ask them for them, whether it be a tablet, phone, what have you. And then the dad says that he turns around and says, this is your checklist, right? And we kind of talked about that a little bit. And the checklist is all pretty standard stuff. It's, is your room clean? Did you flush the toilets? Are you cleaning the house? Are you ready to go for tomorrow? I don't necessarily want to have to wait for you in the morning about what you're doing, and get ready to go. And I felt like most of these were fine. Clean your room, do your chores. Is your homework done? Ready for the next day? Is your laundry done? Are the toilets clean and all of that? And one of them was, have you exercised? He says, it's 1 mile on the treadmill. You can walk it, jog it, or run it. Or just give me 20 minutes and another exercise. Basketball, climbing, lifting weights, etc. His kid wanted some more time after school to play with their friends, of course, as that's what kids are going to want and should get. And so he said, well, I'm going to do my 20 minutes worth of exercise before school. And he was lifting some weights. And he said, he's like, my kid came home and said, hey, I had more energy all day. I felt good all day. It's like, yeah. That is actually what body positivity is. Like, we got carried away with just tell every fat ass who refuses to reduce the amount of calories that they have. Yeah, it's body positivity. There's a new meme going viral, and it's of course true, and it kind of goes back to something I'm always saying. It's a picture of Rick Ross on one side, who has lost a bunch of weight, and it's a picture of Lizzo on the other side. On Rick Ross's side, it says, put a shirt on, buddy. And on Lizzo's side, they're both without their clothes on. On Lizzo's side, it just says empowering. You know that's true, right? You're fat shaming a woman. Take me down to Buffet City where the ribs are meaty. What about Fat Vince Neil? Fat Neil is what they were calling him. Because of Community, but like they were literally calling him Fat Neil. Community is a television show for anybody that might not know. Probably Joe McHale's best work ever. And like that's all systems go. Rick Ross put a shirt on, Lizzo, empowering. It's funny how that works, ain't it? We got crazy with the body positivity trend. You know that, right? I'm not even talking to you right now. You know that's true. We all know it's true. Body positivity actually comes from, wait for it, restriction of doing what you want. Again, doing whatever you want because you can. Child's mentality, doing what you should do. Adult's mentality, it's different. And that body positivity comes from doing what your own mind told you that you could not do. Too hard. I don't wanna. That's your own mind. That's my mind. Overcoming that and accomplishing what you know it is we should be accomplishing. Notice I said we, not you. Getting that done leads to you feeling positive about your body. Why is it on the person sitting next to you on the bus, at work, or whatever? Why is it their responsibility to make you feel positive about what your body is? Cat Williams is all the rage right now. It's all anybody can talk about still a month after that interview. You know what Cat Williams said about self-esteem back in the day? It's called a seam of your damn stealth. Why you letting me make you feel messed up about you? It's kind of right. Kind of true. There's some truth in that. Body positivity comes from having a positive body. That's how it works. I feel like crap every day. I just feel negative and anxious and I'm depressed. Okay, show me what you ate last week. How many hours were spent watching television? How many hours were spent reading or consuming something that's unhealthy for you? Did you give yourself a fighting chance at all? Did we read some positive information? Did we receive some positive information? Did we do